But around the same time, I started feeling like maybe let's explore some other destination. And Dubai felt like a good fit and a natural choice for me. I'm not saying I have the perfect recipe. Maybe it doesn't apply to everyone. But if I could give advice to someone who's in the position that I was at the time, it would be do whatever you can do and then see how your life puts itself back in place.
Okay.
Okay.
So, MC,
Yes.
if you can introduce yourself to us a little bit, tell us your background, where you're from, and what's special about you.
So I'm Christine. I'm Lebanese. I grew up in Lebanon and then I went to study in Italy and in Spain, and now I work in Dubai with my good friend Mason. And what is special about me? What's what? I have a Mexican passport, which surprises people because I've never been to Mexico.
Okay, so why did you get this Mexican passport?
Because my grandmother is Mexican.
Your
And
grandmother.
I love Mexican culture. I love Mexican music, Mexican food, but I haven't been yet.
Are you planning to go sometime?
Of course, but I'm waiting for friends to go with me. And when I suggest that we go, you always say no. So
Yeah, because I have already been. So I'm not the one you should come for.
okay, well noted.
So what do you do now?
I work in consulting in Dubai.
And how's the job? How does it feel like?
I really like my job. It's tough at times. It's quite a demanding industry, but overall, I really like my job.
What do you like about it?
So the people that I met, including you, and I think maybe what I like the most is that it doesn't get boring easily because you change projects all the time, you change the industry that you're working on, so you're always stimulated, and I like that.
Mm-hmm. And you feel you are happy in the job?
Yes, I do. I think if I wasn't happy, I would leave. So, yes.
Okay. So maybe tell us a bit more about how you are when you grow up. What kind of girl are you? Are you like a rebellious girl or like always like a good girl? Or...
I was always a very good kid. I don't think that my parents had any trouble with me until I was in my 20s. But when I was a kid growing up in school, I was a very good kid. There was nothing to worry about. Me and my sister were good students. So it was quite a easy childhood, let's say.
Okay, so the path for you to come to Dubai and become a consultant, was it always what you have planned, or was it always?
Oh, not at all. No, I was studying in Europe, as I told you, and I thought I would stay there after my studies. But as you know, I don't think that life always played out the way you imagine it as a kid or even as a young student. And after a few years, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And I I studied management, I studied finance, I studied economics, but I still didn't have one specific job that I was pursuing or going after. And after a lot of twists and turns, I discovered more about consulting, and I thought this sounds like a good mix of my interests, like something that would fit what I'm looking for, even though I didn't have something specific one specific industry that I was looking for. And then at more or less at the same time, I started thinking that maybe I don't want to stay in Europe to work. Even though, there were my friends are all there, my family, my parents live there part-time, so there were a lot of things keeping me there, and I still love it. I still love going back. But around the same time, I started feeling like maybe let's explore some other destination, and Dubai felt like a good fit and a natural choice for me.
Was there a like turning moment for you when you made that decision?
I think there were a lot of turning moments. Not only for me, but I think in any life, you have a lot of turning moment that kind of did change everything that comes after. The first turning moment was when I left Lebanon at 18 to go study abroad. I think this was when I became an adult, I was still looking back, I was still a kid at that time. Clearly not an adult. But but it felt for me like a really the first big jump or the first big like pause of my life. Everything
Yeah.
changed after that.
So you lived and grow up in Lebanon before 18,
Yes, yes.
and then you decided to go to
To Milan
to
to do my
study abroad.
bachelor. Yeah,
And
exactly.
why did you decide to go abroad at that time?
Look, I really wanted to study abroad, to live in Europe, to do something new, to grow up. You know how you're at that age, you're very ambitious and very convinced
Adventurous.
that you
Yeah.
can. And this was the first real change of my life because before I went to the same school more or less all my life. I had a very close group of friends. I am very close to my family. So it was a very protected, lovely environment that I grew up in.
Mhm.
And then suddenly you find yourself in a city where you don't know anyone
Mhm.
and you don't speak the language. And at first I just wondered like, what am I doing here? You know, why did I leave? But I knew that I would not go back, that I would not give up because I knew why I
Mhm.
went abroad. But you still question yourself, like, you know, I had all the comfort that I wanted, I had all the people I loved. Why did I leave that?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you were very happy at that moment in your life already, like why you are pursuing something different.
Because otherwise, I wouldn't be happy now if I hadn't left, right? Like it was hard to leave and it was hard the first couple of years, but if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be happy now, I think.
Okay. Well, you never know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. And you were saying like that shift, like the first big change of your life, sort of changed the whole direction.
Yes.
Do you
of course.
remember at that time, like how are you feeling? Are you feeling anxious? Like when you first moved to a new school with knowing no one, like what? How do you feel at that time? Do you still remember?
Yeah, I felt terrified because I felt excited because of the move. Like living alone in Europe excited me. I was very eager to discover because I had been to Italy, to Milan, to Europe. I had been multiple times, but it's different when you live there, right? You experience it in a different way. And I was extremely excited to live that. But at the same time, I was very anxious. I remember that so my mom and my sister came with me to drop me off in Milan, and we spent a few days together. And this whole time, I had like this knot in my stomach because I was counting down, like in 4 days they're gonna leave me, in 3 days they're gonna leave me. And the day they left me in the morning, they went to the airport, and I went to my first class. And I remember I was just 18, and at the time I felt like I'm very old now. I'm a very adult
Mature.
woman.
Yeah.
I was not. I was a kid. So I remember when I went to that first class, I was like, I'm a baby. I need my mom. Because I had gone like from a high school where I knew everyone, where my
Yeah.
mom would come pick me up at 18. She would come pick me up every day from school. And then I arrived in this very adult world. But that's how you grow. I was terrified, but you have to go through that to grow,
And
right? Your mom cannot take you to school or to university or to work forever. So
Yeah.
you have to learn sometimes.
And how long did it take you to, like finally adapt and get
It
used
took
to the
me a
new
very long
lifestyle?
time. I think that the first year, it was a very tough time, but I had one very like bright light in my life. Who you know, it's Elisa.
Uh-huh.
So I was living in the university residence, and she turned out to be assigned to the same apartment. So we ended up roommates by chance,
Uh-huh.
and like she really made the whole year better. I think this is also something that hopefully everyone has in tough times. If you have one good person that you meet or one person who loves you and who you love, it makes everything better. But I would say she was the real highlight of my first year. So she was
How has she, like, maybe share like one or two moments? How has she really like made your first year experience change?
Look, I have very concrete examples. The first one is very simple. The first night that I was in the residence, my mom had left, my sister had left. I get to the kitchen of the residence, and in Beirut, I was living a very sheltered life. Okay, my parents always there for me, always taking care of me. So I arrive in the kitchen, and I realize I don't know how to do anything, and I don't know what to do with the kitchen. right? So I go to her and I'm like, excuse me, can you teach me how to make pasta? She was like, are you joking? You don't know how to make like simple pasta? And so she taught me how to boil water and put the pasta in the pot. And that was the first night that I felt like, you know what? I have someone who's nice enough to
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 teach
do
you
this
how
for
to
me.
boil water.
But this is the simple things, right?
Yeah.
But also she, like, we became friends, so we were, it's emotional support, it's being able to share the good moments, the sad moments with someone. And this is really lucky because I'm not sure you always find that, right? Like, it's not, if she hadn't been put in my apartment by the random system of the university, we never would have met. We were in separate classes and everything.
Yeah.
So I think more than the very small things like the pasta, it's more the emotional support, the love, the care that she gave me.
Yeah.
Then the second year, my sister moved to Milan, and then everything changed because we took an apartment together. She also met Elisa, and we were like, the three of us were super close. And my parents started coming more, and it was much better already.
Okay. And you said there's other turning moments.
Of course.
Yeah.
But not only in my, no, in every,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in
yeah,
your
of
life
course,
too, no?
of
Every
course.
time you take a big decision, or every time life takes a big decision on your behalf, like, it's not always that I took a conscious decision to move someplace or to take this job. Sometimes life pushed me, sometimes even despite my will, pushed me in a direction.
Yeah. And you have to get along with it and go
And you
with
have to
it.
make the best of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, so maybe I just want to understand more in broader picture, like,
Yeah.
can you share with me like the second or the second most important turning point in your life?
I would say the second most important turning point was doing my master's in another country, not because I was doing my bachelor's in Italy, and then I moved to Spain to do my master's. And that was a turning point for obvious reason. First, like, geographically, you're moving countries, you're moving universities. But it was also a turning point because it got me out of my comfort zone again. When I first came to Milan, it was not my comfort zone. But after 3 years had passed, I was very comfortable there. I had my sister, my parents were coming a lot, I had my group of friends. And so I think the easy decision would have been to decide to stay in Milan after that. But by moving to Madrid and readapting to a new environment, I think that it made me grow a lot again, but it was so much easier this time around. Like, moving to the first, after 1 week in Madrid, I already felt like home because I was used to it by now. I was used to living alone. I was used to being an independent student, etc. So that was another turning point. Then COVID happened, another turning point, I think, for the whole world, not just for me. And then I went back to live in Lebanon for a year, which I never expected I would do. And I got a really cool job in the music industry. Another turning point, which the job I applied to. So yes, it was my will, but coming back to live in Lebanon, I hadn't planned it. So this was life pushing me in a way to do this. Then another turning point, I go back to Milan to study again, and finally coming to Dubai. So honestly, this is why now I feel like I don't want to move. I want to stay in Dubai for the next few years because I don't want to pack my bags and move again. No more turning points, please.
But honestly, like, after hearing all these things, I had a feeling that you will move again. And I wanted to
now.
no, I actually wanted to ask you, like, because the first turning point in your life was when you were 18, and it sounded, I mean, it turns out great, but it sounded very horrific in the beginning, right? Like, it wasn't what you were expecting. You were very scared, and you don't know the language and everything. Like, I want to know, like, after the first time you experienced that, like, why are you still choosing always to, like, move to different places? Because I can imagine some people will first time, like, experience that, they will be like, oh, this is so much, like, I would try not to move again. I would try to be more stable. I know moving is not my thing. I really took a long period to really recover from that moving. But seems like you, even though you were now saying like it was horrific, but in your actual life choices or in your actual life path, you did a lot of other changes, other, like, turning points. Like, what do you think was the driving reason for that?
Look, I think there are two reasons. The first one is, yes, it was tough, but I knew even when it was happening, when it was tough, I knew that it was the right thing to do for my growth, for myself. So I didn't want to give up. There was no way. Like my mom kept asking me, "Look, tell us if it's tough, if you're unhappy, you come back to Lebanon. You come." And I knew I wasn't going to do that. I wanted to go through it. I really believe that up to a certain point, tough times are good for you. I'm not saying permanently, not
Yeah.
like living in suffering the whole time, but tough times are good for you. That's what makes you grow. And the second reason is every time I moved or every time I went through that tough transition, I ended up in a better place than where I started. So that's why I kept moving. No, if I had, when I was in Madrid, I was a better, like happier or better person, or more, maybe not a better person, but I was more mature than when I was in Milan.
Yeah.
Then when I went to Lebanon, I was more. So every time it's growth. I'm happier. I'm more. I know what I want. It also comes with age and experience, but but that comes also from
Yeah.
doing things that are challenging.
And also because you see the results of changing, of growth.
Exactly.
So every time maybe you have more hope for like what's coming after the challenges.
Exactly.
Okay. Maybe I would you said like you're very close with your family. You're very close with your mom and dad, and I know them.
Yeah.
How do you think? What's your image inside of their head? Like, what do you think they? How do they think of you?
Oh, okay. How do they think of me? I think that if you had asked them this along the way, I think the image changed quite a bit at every turn almost. I think now they would say that they're quite relieved, they're quite happy with how I'm doing, and I think they're proud because they tell me. I'm not assuming. And I do think that now they miss me a lot, and I miss them too a lot, more, even more than when I was a student, because as a student you can travel more, you can see your family more. So I think that now they have a bit this feeling that, we would like to know when she's gonna come home.
Okay.
For good, I mean.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to.
No, not in the sense when she's gonna come home for a weekend, but we would like to know if in a year, 2 years, she's gonna live where we live.
So you think in their mind they want you to stay with them in the long term, like
Yeah, but I
stay
think that
close with
most
them.
parents, at least most Lebanese parents,
Okay.
would like that. And I really, especially this year, I think because I'm getting old, I really feel that I don't want to spend my life living far from them.
So you do have the plan to move.
I don't
close
know.
to
I
them.
have no plans, to be honest, because I like my job and my life and the city I live in for now. And I want to reconcile that with this desire to be closer to my family. I'm close to them on an emotional basis, but I want to be close to them physically. So let's see how we reconcile that in the next few years.
Yeah, maybe you can start an office next to them. When you become MDP, you just open the office next to their home.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about when you were young? Like you seems like you said like you were very good kids. You were like with your sister, you were like always like good at school, good at never trouble.
Yeah.
So you think they had the same image for you?
As kids, definitely. I think so, at least, because it's the case, right? We were very like good students, happy kids. As a student, I think they worried about it a bit more because I was more independent and more, I wouldn't say rebellious. Like I wasn't that, I'm not a very rebellious person, you know me, but I was more, I think that if you always grow up very close to your parents, also that in the sense that they can, they see what you're doing, they see, so the moment you really leave, they panic a bit. So I think at that point they were worrying a bit, but now they see that I turned out fine. I am not in prison.
Yeah. Thank God you're not in prison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like as a friend, I know you. I feel like you are a very happy person. You're always, even now, right? Like when you are talking about those challenges or those turning points in your life, it almost feels like it's a happy memory. It turns out to be a happy memory. So I don't know, like, what is your secret to keep being happy in your life?
Wow, my secret to keep being happy. Okay, first of all, I wouldn't say there's a recipe. Like maybe I'm gonna tell you something now, and maybe in a year I won't be happy, right? I'm not selling you a formula to be
Yeah.
happy or something. But I think if you've been unhappy for sometimes for long enough, I think that once you solve those problems that were making you unhappy, you start really, it becomes hard to be unhappy after that, right? Because you appreciate the good thing, you appreciate the happy times afterwards. And I think that I'm too lucky now, touch wood, I'm too lucky to be unhappy. Like you have to appreciate what life gives you. My family is in good health. The people I love are in good health. I see them often. I have good friends who care for me, who I love. I have the job that I wanted, that I've worked for a very long time. I can't be unhappy. Like it would be too ungrateful to life, to God, to whoever you believe in. I'm not saying I keep like 365 days a year. I keep a huge smile on my face. That would be psychotic. But the sad moments that I go to, I always try to put them in perspective. First, that overall I'm so lucky. I'm very grateful. And second, that there are so many bad things. This is a bit my anxious side that comes out. There are so many bad things that could happen to me or to the people I love that because they haven't happened or they haven't happened yet, I should be happy now because sadness might come later. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, basically, like bad things can happen to you. So as long as they haven't happened, you should appreciate that. No, you should appreciate that now you're healthy, your family is healthy, you're having fun with friends, you have a job you love. Khalas, that's good enough for me.
Yeah.
It's more than good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also sounds like you're anticipating bad things will always happen.
Not anticipating things, but being aware that they might happen.
Yeah.
I don't take it for granted. I don't take what I have for granted. It doesn't mean I live with the constant fear that tomorrow something bad might happen to someone I love, but I don't take it for granted now.
Yeah, that's very important. Like I think like appreciating life, appreciating what life has given you, like it's really like what makes you happy, but also in the same time, you know, like how to appreciate life is not to take anything for granted.
Yeah.
You know, like things happen for a reason. People are good for you for a reason. You are healthy for a reason, like you said, right? So, yeah, I think that's probably what makes you happy.
Yeah,
also.
honestly. And it's again, when you go through tough time and you're very unhappy for a long time and you wake up like sad or depressed for a long time, when this time has passed, for me personally at least, now I wake up every morning, I'm like, alhamdulillah, this is hopefully a good day starting, you know?
So, what was the toughest moment you remember?
The what, sorry?
The toughest moment
Toughest
or
moment.
the saddest moment you remember?
Look, I went right after the COVID and the restriction and everything. I went through a very tough time because I basically finished university, but I couldn't go back to Europe. It was tough to find a job. It's nothing exceptional, right? Compared to most people, I was still very lucky at that time. I still had a lot of good things going on and everything. But I think when you're young and you have these very high expectations for how your life is going to turn out to be, if it doesn't happen, or at least if it doesn't happen immediately, I started questioning a lot of my choices. Like, why did I do all this if I'm going to end up, I don't have a job and I have to go back to where I started? And so this was a very tough time for me. I was very depressed. And
where were you at that time?
I started that in Europe and then I was in Lebanon.
So you went back to Lebanon without a job, without knowing where you want to
nothing.
go.
Yeah, with nothing. And I kind of felt like, wait, I went to study in Europe since I was 18 so that I could get a job, I could get like paper, I could secure my future. And now I'm back. Like I could have stayed in Lebanon this whole time, right? If I'm back here without why did I leave? It felt a bit like that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you were saying like basically when you left Lebanon, you were hoping to build a future, build a life based on that decision, right? Like you
Yes,
suffered so
exactly.
much.
Like this is
you,
the first stone that I'm putting at a, you know,
yeah.
a stepping stone.
And then
to
when
my
you
future.
come back to Lebanon, you feel like everything was just falling back. And
Yes, like, you know, I couldn't get a job because the whole world was in
fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I couldn't renew my papers because I didn't get it. So it really felt like a dead end. And it was super depressing, not only for me, but a lot of my friends were in that same situation. It was a pretty tough time for all of us, I would say. And for all the world, again, like
Yeah.
relatively, it was still nothing. I was still lucky because I could go back to my family and they were supporting. So it was still lucky. But when you're sad, when you're going through tough time, it's really hard to put it in, like, to say, but relatively I'm doing well. No, because you're focusing more on the
Yeah.
problems you have.
So at that time, what did your parents say to you?
They were saying like it's okay, you go back to Lebanon with us, it's gonna be fine, and then worst case you'll try again when restrictions are lifted. And I didn't see that. I kept telling them it's not okay, you can't, like, you cannot convince me that this is okay. But what I did is I knew I didn't want to go back to Lebanon and just sit at home waiting for a miracle to happen. So I started applying to jobs in Lebanon. And that's when I found this job in the music industry, which I never planned on working in, but had always been a passion of mine. I love music. And it completely changed my experience in Lebanon. I think if I hadn't done that, it would have been a terrible year, just sitting at home waiting for the world to open up again, for things to get better. But they don't get better unless you do something.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that job, I met really cool people. I worked in an industry that I really liked. I experienced things that I never expected that I would experience. So it really changed the entire experience I had.
So now looking back, like that decision has definitely like changed, like you said, changed your expectation and also changed how you see things during that tough time. But what was the reason why you started even start, like stop being depressed or feel sorry about yourself, but actually going out and start looking for a job? What was the
No,
thing
I started
that
looking
made?
for jobs when I was depressed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like
Yeah.
when you were depressed, a lot of people, including me, right? Like when I'm depressed, I really don't know what to do. Like, and just stopped doing things. I just stopped trying, right? Instead of say, let's do something, and it might change me.
Look, I was depressed, but I had a goal, and that goal was to change the situation that I was in. Because I was not happy with the situation that I was in, I wanted to change it in any way. And being in Lebanon during COVID restrictions, the only way was to find a job. Like, it's not that I could travel, it's not that I could go discover the world. I had either this, like, either you work from home or you stay at home and you don't do anything.
So you made that decision by yourself.
Yes, I applied to, actually, I didn't apply to that many jobs. I applied to that job. And when I was at the airport coming from Milan to Lebanon to move to move for at least a year to Lebanon, I got the phone call from a person from that company who was like, "Can you come tomorrow for an interview?" And I was like, "Sure." I landed in Lebanon at midnight, and the morning after, I went for an interview.
Okay. And so when you got the job offer, do you remember what you were feeling at that
Yeah,
time?
I was so relieved because I knew already that I was gonna have to spend at least the next few months at home. And I was so relieved that now I would have something to do, to wake up for. I'm someone who I love doing nothing. I love resting. But if I don't have something to wake up for in the morning, and it's not necessarily a job, it can be any type of goal, it brings me down. I need to wake up feeling that I have something to do. And this helped immensely already. And it was not a switch. It's not because I found this job that, oh, now I'm not depressed anymore. Of course not. It took a very long time, but it was essential. Without this, I don't know, maybe I'd still be yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually a very, very inspiring story, like how when people are feeling stuck, oftentimes, like we're saying, like oftentimes people doesn't know what to do. I guess the thing you're telling us is basically you don't need to know what to do. Just keep pushing forward.
You need to do something.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's easy, because I know how it is when you wake up and you just feel that it's just the word is waiting on you. Like, it's too much to cope. I know how it is, but and you don't need to find the solution. It's not, when I took this job, I wasn't like, now my life is fixed. It wasn't the ultimate solution to be happy. I wasn't happy immediately or anything. But you need to do something. If you're very unhappy, you need to change some elements of your life. And if you don't know which elements to change, start by changing something and then see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I think honestly, like a lot of people feeling stuck is when you are feeling like you want to figure everything out in your head first before moving.
It's hard to do that, because if you're depressed, you don't have clarity in your head, right? You don't have a clear picture of who you are, what your life is, what your life should be. So trying to think it through before acting is really hard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I have the perfect recipe. Maybe it doesn't apply to everyone, but if I could give advice to someone who's in the position that I was at the time, it would be, do whatever you can do and then see how your life puts itself back in place. I took this job, but I was also doing translation jobs on the side. I was also doing tutoring. I was doing whatever I could to keep myself busy, organized with a goal. And then, my life set itself back into place more naturally through that.
Mm-hmm. Very, yeah, very inspiring. I was just thinking like maybe that's what I need to do. Like just keep yourself in
But that's
motion.
what you were doing with this, no? This is a very interesting and intense project. So
yeah, but honestly, like these days, some days I feel good about it, some days not, and then
of course, again, I'm not telling you the minute I found this job, my troubles disappeared. There were so many hard days, but you have to keep pushing. That's how you get to the other side. And you do get to the other side. This I can promise you.
It's just you are too positive.
No, look, I don't want to come off. I'm not saying life is always perfect and you should always be happy. I'm saying because life is so imperfect and can be so tough at times, when it's not tough, I want to be happy. Because I've seen, and again, I was lucky because even my bad moments were not that bad. Like, people have it much worse. So because I've seen some tough times, I appreciate the good times so much more. It doesn't mean I'm always positive or I'm always laughing. It just means that when you've wanted something for so long, when you get it, you appreciate it more. And now that I have, alhamdulillah, a good life that I wanted, that I worked for, that I wished for, I appreciate it. That's all.
So what is let's say, what is the thing that you are most scared of now?
I think if you had asked me this question a few years ago, I would have told you the thing that I'm most scared of is to be stuck in a situation that I don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned that you're never really stuck. There's always a way to improve. This is what I was just telling you about. There's always a way to make things better. So now I would say the thing that I'm most scared of is, this is a very sentimental, and certain, I think it comes with age. The only thing that I'm scared of now is to lose the people that I love the most. Everything else, I think I can deal with, and I will come out like untouched even. But this is the only thing that you cannot do anything about. So
yeah, I guess that's like everyone has this fear, right?
Yeah, but it's really the only thing I'm scared of. And like anything else, losing, I'm not saying I want to lose my job, but losing your job, you can recover from. A breakup, you can recover from. Whatever. The only thing I'm scared of is the one thing that I cannot change. So
yeah, makes sense. And like in all this, like when you are talking about past again, like you are, very positive. You almost feel like every decision, what I felt is like every decision that you've now looking back, like the decisions that you have made, you all see like the positive outcome out of it, right? So it's like a very forward looking and positive. Has there ever been anything that you have deeply regretted? Like, what's your biggest regret in your life so far?
I don't think there's one decision that I regretted, because I believe that if you're happy with where you are now, you cannot change anything in your past, or it would change the end result. You know what I mean? Like probably even if small decision, if I changed it, I wouldn't be sitting with you now, which I'm happy about, and I don't want to change. So there's not an event or a decision that I regret. It's actually one of my favorite books that says that. It's a French book called Candide, and the hero goes through so many challenges, so many adventures, and then he end up with his friends living in the same house, happy and cultivating his garden. And they say, oh, but if we hadn't gone through these terrible challenges, and if we hadn't been imprisoned, and if we hadn't been beaten, we wouldn't be here today. It's kind of the same thing, right? So I wouldn't change anything. I would say the only thing I regret is not an event or a decision. I only ever regret if sometimes I wasn't a good enough friend, or I wasn't a good enough sister. This I would regret. That maybe I could have been a better person to those people. But overall, no major regrets. Not one event or decision that I say I wish I hadn't taken it. Ask me again in 20 years. After 2 divorces and being jobless.
Maybe after 20 years you'll be like, the thing I regretted the most is taking the interview with you. It screwed up my life.
Afterwards, my life went down.
Yeah, because you are like telling everybody, I'm so happy, I'm so
I really believe I'm not very superstitious, but I believe in evil eyes, so I don't want to jinx it. I'm very unhappy, actually. I'm very miserable.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe the question that Abu had. So if looking forward, what are the changes you would expect in your life, and what's the next exciting moments for you?
This is going to be a very unexciting answer, but I don't want to plan too far ahead. If there's one thing I learned in my 27 years of age, is that you can't make too many hard plans. You can have an idea of what you want out of life. You can have an end goal. It's important, but you can't. It's hard to say in 2 years, I want to move there. In 3 years, I want to become this, because life has a way of laughing at your plan and changing them all together. So I know that for now, I love my job. I love the people that I live here with, and I love the city that I live in. So for now, I don't want to change that. But I cannot tell you that in 2 years, those elements won't change, So I don't know yet where I'll be. I know that I hopefully want to keep being close to the people who make me happy. And my preliminary plan for the moment is I want to continue working where I work. I want to continue doing what I do. I don't have more of a set perspective. I don't have anything set in stone. And my end goal is to retire one day and live in peace with no one bothering me. Yeah. And be chill and read my books all day. This is the goal.
Okay.
I told you it's not very exciting. So
No, but it makes sense. I like how you said, like you cannot plan too much, because also when you going back to what we were discussing earlier, right? Like you need to appreciate what life has for you. But if you maybe I was thinking like maybe really like if you plan so much, then when it happened, you don't feel like it's something that would surprise you, or if it's something that just life has gifted you. You felt like I earned it, but in fact,
which you did.
Yeah, but in fact, a lot of things are not really earned by us, right? Like we earned it, we planned for it, and we worked hard for it. But you need to know, like, good or bad, sometimes it's really just.
I think you earn it, you work for it, you do everything you can, but nothing happens unless you can call it God, destiny, life, you can call it whatever you want. Nothing happens unless it's bound to happen, and it has to happen. I'm not saying I believe in predetermination, absolutely not, but you can work as hard as you can and do whatever you can. If the timing isn't right, it doesn't happen sometimes. It's funny, but you can plan for so long for something and they don't happen, and then life just drops something else on your lap. I'm not saying sit at home and wait for things to happen to you, but yeah.
Okay, I just remembered I asked you
Yeah.
what's the toughest moment. I
Yeah.
also want to know, like, I mean, you definitely had a lot of very memorable, very happy moments.
Yeah.
But if I ask you now, what is one moment that in your life that you think it's like the most memorable or most emotional or most, I don't know, happy moments that you would like to share?
Um, okay, I'm gonna give you another very sentimental and boring answer. I don't think there were a lot of moments. Look, there were a lot of moments where I felt that I'm so incredibly happy. When I got the job that I have now, I remember finishing the phone call and I felt like this is amazing. I know what it means now to feel on top of the world. But there are also moments where last year I was on vacation with my whole family. We were in Greece and we were eating this like Greek salad and Greek food, which I love. And I kept telling them, I'm so happy right now. This is the happiest moment of my life. And
For a Greek salad.
they made fun of me. They were like, happiest moment? I said, yes, honestly, because like good food, superb location with my entire family. Khalas, I don't want any, like, this is the peak for me. This is peak happiness already. Same thing when we have very good moments with friends. So, for example, when I'm traveling with my friends, or when I went to Ecuador for my friend's wedding last year, and we took a bus and we were doing road trip, and I also kept telling them like, guys, this is perfect. I'm so happy already. So I think I'm sorry for this answer. I don't think this is what you were hoping for. But I think I reach peak happiness quite often if there's elements are all there, which is being with the people I love, not having any big worries in my head, and being in a very simple, happy setting. I don't need to be, I mean, I want the minimum level of comfort. I don't want to be camping or something, but I don't need to be in a very fancy environment. Just being with the right people in a nice setting. It's peak happiness for me.
Okay, so what is the last, the latest happiness moment that you
It
got?
was actually 2 weeks ago. I went back home for Easter, and I was back in my childhood house with my parents, my aunt, my uncles, my grandma, and we did nothing. That entire day, I did nothing. I had breakfast with them, I had lunch with them, I had dinner with them, just eating and sitting together, talking. And it was a perfect day. I kept telling my mom, this is perfect. No, like I wouldn't change anything. Yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
very simple person, Mason.
No, it's I guess it's also rooted in, like, you know, like you are very in good relationship with your family.
Yeah,
and
but it's
you-
also because when you don't, so living far from them makes me value those moments more, right? Like if I was living in Lebanon and every weekend you were doing that, maybe I wouldn't be that excited about it because I'd be like, yeah, this is just a regular weekend for me. But the fact that this used to happen every weekend and now it happens maybe 3 weekends a year, I value it more
yeah.
because it has become very precious to me. So
Yeah. So if happiness have a flavor, what would it taste like for you?
I'm not gonna say what you expect me to say, which it has so many flavors.
For me, it's simple, spicy.
Yeah, not for me. No, for me it would be the ice cream from this place called Le Voleur, which is close to my house in Beirut, because we grew up eating that, and it's just the in French we say it's a Madeleine de Proust. Which doesn't make sense in English. I don't know how to translate this, but it's basically any taste or smell or anything that brings you back to happy times or to your childhood. And for me, this is it. It's the summers in Lebanon at school. It's afternoon spent with my friend at home eating a pot of ice cream. So this would be the taste of happiness.
Is it the ice cream that I tried?
Yes.
With your
I always
sister?
bring my friends to try. Yeah.
So basically, if someone, because you are the one who is always changing, right? Like who is always walking out of your comfort zone. So if someone is always stuck or always afraid to jump out of their comfort zone, what would you say to them?
Okay, so I would say it's quite different depending on people. I have friends who grew up and have lived in the same country and now work in the same country that they're from, and they're very happy. And I'm not advocating, I'm not saying like everyone should move abroad and leave everything and start anew. Absolutely not. if you're happy, stay there. It's don't change it. But for people who feel stuck, then yes, I would definitely say never pass an opportunity that life gives you. If you hear about an opportunity somewhere, if you have this dream to become whatever job or whatever country you want to live in, first of all, work towards it, and then once you get the chance, jump at it, because it's the only way to not have any regrets. No.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, after moving almost every 2 years for the past 8 years now, I'm happy with my comfort zone now. I don't want to move in the next couple of years. I want to, especially because we have such a fast-paced life here, I want to take the time to enjoy it. I don't want to move again for at least the next couple of years. I think there's a balance to be reached between going out of your comfort zone and appreciating your present and what you have. I think it's also a bad thing to always be like unsatisfied and I want the next thing and I want something bigger, and that's good. It's good to be driven and ambitious, but it's also good to stop and look around what you've achieved and enjoy it for a while. So
yeah, I think that's actually very powerful in the sense that it relates back to the question that I was asking you. What flavor do you think the happiness is?
Yeah.
I imagine everybody has a very different answer to that question. Means, like there's no one recipe, there's no one way to reach happiness.
Exactly.
You don't need to step out of your comfort zone if you want to be happy or successful, because we all have different definition of what is happy and what is success.
And I'm not like everything I said here doesn't apply to everyone. I'm not saying, you should absolutely study abroad, move countries, go. No, not really. I think the most important thing is to be self-aware and to kind of determine what you want. What is my ultimate goal?
Yeah.
And then work accordingly. That's completely fine.
Perfect. Thank you, MC.
Thank you.
Maybe
Mason.
one last one.
Yes.
Last one. What is your message to the world?
To the world. Okay.
Yeah.
My message to the world. How cheesy should I be?
I don't know, whichever. I asked one guy in Kenya, and his message to the world is, let's all believe in God.
I'm not here to do that. No, I would say my message
to the world or to your family, or you can also speak to your parents if they're watching.
Oh, well, okay. Then I'll speak to my parents and then I'll speak to the world.
Okay.
That's fine?
Okay.
Okay. If my message to my parents is thank you. There's honestly nothing else that I can think of to tell them. I think it's very lucky to have parents who love you and who support you so much. And I know that most people think that way, but I truly believe I have the best parents in the world. I think I'm right. I'm not sure it's true, but yeah, thank you. The only thing I could say. My message to the world would be, I can't say a message to the world, but the message to anyone who's going through a tough time and who maybe doesn't see the end of that tough time or the end of the tunnel, I think my message would be that hold on, it's really gonna get better, I promise. Just as long as you push yourself to get out of bed, it's already something. And if every day you do a little bit of effort, it might not seem like it's getting better every day, but down the line, you will see the improvement. You will see the result. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Mason. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Who's your best friend?
You.
Thank you, Mason. Okay, I'll allow that.
Because both of you are here, I cannot say otherwise.
I like Abu, so I'll allow that. We can share.
Okay.